You say you want real connection. You say you want someone who's going to choose you, someone who's going to see you, to know you for who you are, like who you really are. But here's the part that you don't want to look at though, and that is you're not even showing up as the real version of you. You're showing up instead as this version of yourself that you think will be chosen by others. It's this version that you think is acceptable, or this version that you think is safe or likable. And deep down, you know that this is a performance. You can feel it. Because even when they choose you, even when you get picked, something still feels off. Something feels hollow or disconnected or lonely. See, they didn't choose you. They chose the mask that you're wearing. And you know it. You can feel it. The worst part of this is that you made it impossible for them to choose anything but who you're presenting. You never gave them the chance to actually get to know the real version of you. But let's pause. Let's just pause a moment here, because we should ask, why do we do this? Why do we put on this mask and play these roles that aren't necessarily us? It's not because we're being manipulative, I think. It's not because we're liars, per se. I think it's because at some point we learned deeply and painfully that being ourselves was dangerous. And maybe you showed someone the real you once upon a time and they laughed. Maybe you were vulnerable and someone used that against you. Perhaps you dared to be honest and the world punished you for it. And so you learned that honesty hurts. You learned that vulnerability invites the sense of rejection. And you learn that authenticity is a risk that you're not sure that you can survive if you keep putting yourself out there. And so you built this mask and you crafted this role and you became the person who never rocked the boat, the person who smiled even when you were hurting, the person who laughed at jokes, for example, that weren't really funny, or the person who agreed with opinions that you said you didn't believe. You said yes when you wanted to say no, for example. And so you learn to perform over time, not because you're fake, but because you're scared. And I get it. The fear of being seen, like the fear of being truly seen, is one of the deepest fears I think we carry, because if they see the real you and they reject that, they reject the real you, there's no hiding, is there? There's no protecting yourself with, they just didn't know the real me, right? So if they see the real you and walk away, it feels like proof that you're unlovable. And so you stay hidden, you stay safe, you stay lonely. But stick with me here, because just in a few minutes, I want to break down with you exactly what happens when you finally risk being real, okay? And why it's the only way to experience the kind of connection that I believe you're longing for. I believe we're all longing for. But first, let's talk about the cost of performing, shall we? Because there is a cost, and it's bigger than you think. You see, when you perform, when you hide behind this mask that you've been creating, you're not just protecting yourself from rejection. You're also blocking yourself from being loved. See, love can only meet you at the depth that you're willing to reveal yourself. So if you're only offering a shallow version of yourself, the best you'll ever get is a shallow connection, a surface level approval, perhaps, right? A conditional form of acceptance, relationships that are built on illusion. And you'll always be wondering, would they still love me if they actually knew the truth about me? And that question will eat you alive. It'll haunt every moment of connection, every touch, every word that you exchange. You'll doubt every compliment. You'll question every act of kindness, because deep down, you know you know they don't actually love you. They love the role that you're playing, right? You love they love the master that they're falling in love with, and the more you perform, the more isolated you actually feel and become. And even in the middle of these relationships that look good on the outside, ooh, there's something missing on the inside because you're not really there. It's just this mask that is interacting. And masks can't be loved. Only people can, right? But listen, I want you to imagine something with me, will you? Imagine, for example, walking into a room where everyone is wearing a mask, okay? And they're smiling, right? They're laughing, they're talking, but no one's real. Nobody is showing who they really are. And you're there too. You're also wearing a mask and you're saying all the right things, right? You're playing your part in the midst of everyone else. You're doing it perfectly and it seems seamless. And yet you feel completely alone, surrounded, but you're feeling unseen. You're known, but you're really unknown. But now imagine this. Imagine you take off your mask, okay? And you stand there vulnerable, exposed. And at first, it's terrifying. You're sure that everyone will reject you. You're sure they'll laugh or they'll walk away, right? But something happens, something else happens, and one by one, others begin to take off their masks as well. And they show their real faces. They show their real hearts, if you will. And suddenly, and finally, you're not alone. You're actually seen. You're known. You're loved. Not for the role that you played, but for who you are. But here's the hard part. The hard part is this. You have to be willing to go first. You have to be the one brave enough to take the mask off, even when no one else has done so. You have to be the one willing to risk being real. And that's the price of real connection. It's not cheap. It's not safe. It's not guaranteed. But it's the only way to be loved for who you truly are, I believe. But let me see if I can bring this even closer, okay? Think about, for example, the last time that you met someone new, right? Maybe it was a date or a friendship or a work connection, okay? How did you show up? Did you find yourself filtering your words perhaps? Like in a careful way? Did you measure your opinions as you share them against what you thought that they wanted to maybe hear? Or did you maybe hide the parts of you that were afraid would scare them off? Or did you show up honestly? Did you show up in a messy way, in a real way, in a human way? See, most of us, if we're honest, we're still editing ourselves. We're still playing roles that we think will be more acceptable, right? More lovable perhaps, more safe. But here's the paradox. Are you ready for this? The more that you filter, the less connection you feel. The safer you try to be, the lonelier you become. Because intimacy and safety are not the same thing. See, intimacy requires risk. It requires courage, right? It requires that you stand there without the armor, without the performance. And you're willing to say, this is me, this is who I am, take it or leave it. I mean, you're not saying this aggressively, like you're not standing off with them, you're not being defensive about it, you're just speaking honestly. And then, and only then, can you find real love and let it find you. But how do you do this? How do you do it? How do you stop playing a role when the role feels so safe? Well, I think it starts off in small increments, right? It starts off with these micro decisions along the way. Saying what you actually think, even if it feels risky, for example. Or showing emotions, even when it feels vulnerable. Or admitting when you don't know something, for example. Admitting when you don't know something instead of pretending that you think you do. Or saying no when you mean no, even if it disappoints someone. Or saying yes when you mean yes, even if they may find that surprising. See, every time you choose authenticity over performance, it's then that you strengthen the muscle of intimacy. And you teach yourself that being real is actually survivable. And you begin to teach yourself that rejection is not fatal. You teach yourself further that connection is possible. But it's only possible on the other side of that fear you have to face. And maybe most importantly, you give the other people permission to be real as well. Because authenticity, authenticity is contagious. Even, well, when you show up as you, like in your unfiltered and unapologetic way, you're creating this space where others can do the same thing as well. You're modeling courage, you're modeling honesty, you're modeling what it looks like to be real and to be loved anyway. But listen, I'm not going to lie to you on this one here. This is not easy work, not at all. It's not even it's far from a quick fix. You will be rejected sometimes, and you will be misunderstood, and you will most likely scare some people away. But here, the ones who stay, the ones who lean in instead of pulling away, they're the ones who will actually see you. They're the ones who will love you, not the role that you've been playing all this time. And that kind of love is worth every risk along the way, because once you've tasted this kind of connection, you'll never settle for anything less again. You'll never be able to go back to the shallow connections you once thought would sustain you. You'll never be satisfied with being loved for the mask that you wore. You'll actually crave and demand the real thing now. And you'll know deep down that you're worthy of all of this. You'll go through a shift in the way you see yourself and say, this is worthwhile. So here's my invitation. My invitation is, take the mask off. Not all at once and not recklessly, but intentionally and courageously. And then show the world who you really are, not who they think that's you, who they think that you want them to be. This is terrifying, it's vulnerable, it's messy, but it's real. And it's the only way to be chosen, like truly chosen. Not for the role that you're playing and not for the performance that you have been so good at giving, but for you, for the heart, for the soul, for the flawed, beautiful human that you actually are. And in so being, you can be loved just for that. You can be chosen for that. But first, you have to be courageous enough, brave enough to offer it. Now, listen, if today's conversation has stirred something in you, you'll probably want to find my video titled, "You Want Her to See You, but You Still Can't Face Yourself." It's a really powerful talk. We unpack the self-acceptance piece as the foundation of true connection that's even deeper. So go check that one there out. And if you find yourself wanting more after that, I want you to stay tuned, because there's even deeper work coming your way. But thank you for watching this. I hope it served you well.